They thought it would be a moment to laugh at her. A young black teen sitting quietly in the corner during her family's will reading, treated like an outsider in her own bloodline. Whispers filled the room, smirks cut deeper than words, and every glance told her she didn't belong. But humiliation has a strange way of turning into revelation, because what no one in that room knew was that the very thing they tried to use to break her would soon shatter their pride instead. What could possibly turn their laughter into stunned silence? Her name was Maya. Just 16 years old, she had grown up learning to keep her head down to survive in a world that never seemed eager to welcome her. School was her safe place. Books were her escape, and dreams were the only thing no one could take away from her. But family was different. In that world, she was always the shadow in the corner, the black teen the others treated as though she didn't quite belong. The whispers were always there, sharp and cutting, reminding her she wasn't like them. While cousins flaunted their privileges, Maya learned to find strength in silence. Yet beneath her quiet exterior burned a heart that longed for dignity, for the chance to simply be seen as worthy. When her grandmother passed away, Maya didn't expect to be invited to the will reading. After all, she had always been treated as an afterthought, the one who was easy to overlook. But the invitation came, and with it a pit in her stomach she couldn't shake. Something about it felt different, like a storm was quietly brewing. She stepped into that grand room with walls heavy with portraits of ancestors who never looked like her, their painted eyes following her every move. The air was thick with judgment, laughter spilling too easily from those who thought they already knew how the story would end. Maya didn't realize it yet, but this moment, this gathering of family and inheritance, wasn't just about dividing wealth. It was about to reveal the cruel ways prejudice hides in plain sight, and how sometimes justice arrives when it's least expected. The lawyer's voice was calm, almost detached, as he shuffled through the stack of papers on the polished oak table. The air smelled of old wood and expensive perfume, but beneath it all lingered something sharper, an unspoken hostility. Maya sat quietly, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Every time the lawyer mentioned a name, the room erupted in nods and satisfied smiles. A vacation house here, an investment there, each detail met with greedy anticipation. But when his gaze shifted briefly toward Maya, the laughter began. A cousin leaned back in his chair, whispering just loud enough for others to hear. "What's she even doing here? She's not one of us." Another scoffed, rolling her eyes, their smirks spreading like wildfire. The room wasn't just filled with family, it was filled with judgment, and Maya could feel it pressing down on her chest. She tried to steady herself, to focus on the lawyer's words, but the comments cut deeper than the silence ever did. Her skin, her very presence, was being used as the punchline of a cruel joke, and no one tried to stop it. Not a single person defended her. She was alone in a room full of people who shared her blood but not her humanity. Each mention of property, each small inheritance detail, widened the gulf between her and those who expected everything to belong to them. A cousin deliberately coughed the word charity, sparking another round of muffled laughter. Another muttered, "She probably just came for scraps." The cruelty was casual, effortless, because for them, it was nothing new. For her, it was everything. She stared at the portraits on the wall, faces of ancestors who built this legacy, faces she was told didn't resemble hers. Did they see her as an intruder too? Or would they have seen the truth? That strength sometimes came from those the world tried hardest to erase. The tension built with every page turned. The will was nearing its end, and Maya hadn't been mentioned once. Each silence felt like confirmation of what they all believed, that she didn't belong, that she wasn't worthy. Her stomach tightened, her throat dry. She wanted to leave, to escape the humiliation burning hotter with each passing second. But just as she shifted in her chair, ready to stand, the lawyer cleared his throat. His expression changed, the weight of the moment suddenly shifting. A hush fell across the room, every smirk fading into uneasy stillness. His eyes moved deliberately to Maya. "This," he began, pausing long enough for the silence to echo. is where things take a turn. The family leaned forward, suspicion flickering in their eyes. Maya's breath caught in her chest. What could possibly follow those words? What secret lay hidden in the pages of that will, powerful enough to stop their laughter cold? The answer was coming, but none of them, not even Maya, was ready for what came next. The remainder of the estate, including the house, the land, and all financial assets, are to be left to Maya. The words fell like thunder. For a moment, no one moved. The air seemed to vanish from the room, leaving only the sound of Maya's heartbeat pounding in her ears. She blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. All of it? To her? Then, like a spark hitting dry wood, the room erupted. Chairs scraped back, voices rose, the table shook under clenched fists. "This has to be a mistake," one cousin shouted, his face red with rage. Another stood up, pointing at Maya as though she had stolen something that wasn't hers. Voices overlapped, angry and desperate, filling the room with chaos. The same people who had just mocked her now scrambled to tear her down, their laughter replaced by venom. "She doesn't deserve this," someone spat. "She's not even really part of this family." The words hit harder than any slap. Their rage wasn't just about money. It was about the color of her skin, the identity they had always used to exclude her. They couldn't bear the thought that the one they deemed unworthy, the one they tried to humiliate, was the rightful heir. Maya sat frozen, every insult and glare crashing into her like waves. For years, she had been invisible. Now all eyes were on her, but not with love, only resentment. And yet, beneath the storm, something began to shift inside her. Her grandmother had chosen her, not out of pity, not as a mistake, but deliberately. Maya wasn't the shadow they painted her to be. She was the legacy. The lawyer raised his voice above the chaos, reaffirming the will's legality. His words were final, unshakable. No amount of rage could undo them. Still, the family's fury only grew, their faces twisted with disbelief and hatred. Maya's hands trembled, but she lifted her head. For the first time in that room, she didn't shrink back. The inheritance wasn't just wealth, it was proof that she belonged, even if no one else could accept it. And as the room seethed around her, a single thought rang louder than their shouts. "They tried to erase me, but I am still here." When the final words of the will were read, the storm inside that room didn't fade. It simmered. The glares, the muttered curses, the unwillingness to accept the truth. It all hung heavy in the air. But for Maya, something had shifted. For the first time in her life, she wasn't shrinking in the shadows of their judgment. She stood in the center of it all, carrying the weight of a legacy they swore she wasn't worthy of. And still she endured. Her grandmother's choice had been more than an inheritance. It was a declaration. A refusal to let the same prejudices that poisoned the family continue unchecked. By placing everything in Maya's hands, she had shattered generations of bias in one bold decision. The house, the land, the wealth, yes, they were hers. But what Maya truly inherited was something much greater. Proof that she belonged, that her existence carried value, no matter how much others tried to erase it. Yet as empowering as that moment was, it also carried a haunting truth. Maya's story isn't just her own. It mirrors the experiences of countless Black lives. How often are voices silenced, opportunities stripped away, dignity mocked, simply because of the color of one's skin? How many more young people are told, directly or indirectly, that they don't belong, even within their own families, schools, or communities? Maya's victory was rare. For too many others, the ending isn't so just. So, the question lingers. When will society stop treating worth as something to be granted or denied by prejudice? How many more humiliations? How many more injustices before the world decides to listen, to change, to see? Because in the end, Maya didn't just inherit wealth. She inherited a truth that cannot be ignored. Dignity isn't given, it is claimed.